Thank you to DesignLab for sponsoring today's video. Should you become a UX designer next year? What does the market look like? How did the tech recession impact this? How does AI affect the market? Is it too late for somebody with no experience? And most importantly, if you do decide to switch to UX, how can you stand out? So this video is dedicated to everything you need to know before deciding to become a full-time UX designer. As someone who has made a career switch, got a full-time job within the tech recession, I'll be giving my honest opinion for you to judge for yourself if you should pursue UX design instead of pretending everything is fine and moving forward with a blind eye. I've done a lot of research in preparation for this video, so would appreciate a like and subscribe, and without further ado, let's jump in. First, to go over some basics really quickly, what exactly is UX design? And the textbook definition goes, UX design focuses on creating meaningful and enjoyable experiences for users interacting with digital products. In more simple terms, if you're a UX designer, you're most likely designing an app or a website, and your goal is to make that experience of using that digital application feel smooth and seamless for the user. So to help with that goal, on a day-to-day, you can do a variety of things such as user research, user interviews, wireframing, or even doing a team brainstorm to help you design those final solutions. Personally, I really like it because no day is the same, and seeing it all come together at the end is pretty satisfying. And in terms of job satisfaction and career growth, while UX can be a difficult career, most UX UI designers report to be pretty happy with their roles. According to Career Explorer, UX designers are happier than average, rating their career happiness at 3.5 out of 5 stars. So this puts UX in the top 30% of careers in terms of happiness. And the average starting salary for an entry-level UX designer was $75,000 to $85,000 as reported in late 2022. Considering the average transition time of 6 months to 2 years, having a starting salary at that point could be a great jump to anybody who's coming from an industry be as lucrative. And over the past few years, the market for UX design grew over 200% with its hiring peak in early 2022. Considering this, even today, the average starting salary is still around $75,000 to $85,000. But of course, we can't consider these things without addressing the elephant in the room, and it's the tech recession. Based on reports, the tech industry has seen more than 240,000 jobs lost in 2023, which is 50% higher than last year. Some of the biggest names in tech, like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Yahoo, Meta, and Zoom, have been behind the layoffs. And compared to 2021, job postings in 2023 fell by almost 60%. And it was hard to find specific numbers, so if you find more correct data, do let me know down in the comments. But the US Bureau of Labor Statistics reported an estimated 225,000 open roles in UX design, with about 500,000 people trying to get into the industry with a certificate alone. And according to Google and Coursera, more than 785,000 people have enrolled into the Google Certificate UX program. However, of those people, only 25,000 to 30,000 people have actually finished it. I'm also going to assume that the 25,000 to 30,000 people would be included in the all-time graduates and not just last year. Since Google's UX design course didn't come out until March 2021, that would put around 10,000 new grads from this one program since then. Anyways, whatever the real numbers are, with this influx of new designers with certificates, in addition to experienced designers who got laid off and re-entered a job market where no one was really hiring, it became a really big mess and honestly really stressful time for everybody involved. Besides hiring critical roles, companies were cutting back but doing layoffs to keep profits, keeping the business alive and prioritizing hiring more senior designers who can do it all instead of more entry-level folks. And naturally, this would lead into the question, is UX design even worth pursuing now? And with that, I have good news. Recent data suggests that the tech recession is close to being over, or actually is already over. Referring to this graph, the recession did slow month by month from January till now, with companies like Meta eventually rehiring a lot of their roles this past October. And I've asked my former mentor at Google about the situation too, and he said within his 20 years of UX experience, he's seen a boom and a bust in the industry at least 5 times. And this past year, we've just experienced a bust in the tech industry. And you know what happens after every bust? Just like the economy, it'll eventually boom again. So Sharon, does this mean that we can go back to the days of 2021 where you can just get a certificate and be hired on the spot with an $80,000 salary? Well, no. Not exactly. Comparing then till now, UX was still a relatively new field that didn't hit its peak until 2022. As companies truly saw the value of UX to their business, there was such an immediate high demand for UX design that it was acceptable for companies to hire entry-level designers just because they needed designers in general to fill that gap. But with the rise of people wanting to jump in on that opportunity with great salary jumps, better work-life balance, and being in high demand, that initial gaping hole within the market was filled pretty exponentially. Now that a few years have passed, the UX industry had more time to expand, so there's more specialized roles catered towards senior designers, with a continued influx of people wanting to transition, on top of people getting rehired into their previous roles as less junior positions, which naturally creates a lot more competition for people who are trying to enter. With that said, just because it's now post-recession doesn't mean things are going to go back to normal. I think we're now in the phase of readjusting or recovering from the recession and learning what the market will look like from here on out. But just because companies aren't in a hiring frenzy for UX designers like they were 2 years ago, this does not mean there's no hope for entry-level designers who are looking to break into the field now. Even with everything that went on, the job market for UX is still expected to grow 16% over the next 10 years, which is higher than average. Plus, the median pay still stays around $80,000 per year. And based on Nielsen Norman's article, the industry is expected to grow from 1 million to 100 million in the next 30 years. So I saw this tech recession not as a signal of companies no longer needing UX, but instead is a natural reaction to the financial hardships the Great started even 2 years after its beginning. But Sharon, on the side, this is all great and stuff, but I heard that, there's a lot of AI things that happened over the past years. So is AI going to take this job, or what's going to happen? And no, it's not. I got invited to Config this past June, where Figma brought up how AI can help UX designers, and pretty much it's just another tool. It's a very powerful tool, but it can't replace human designers. AI simply doesn't have the capacity to synthesize everything from research to data to having empathy for the user to the level of discernment that humans can. Plus, the features that were shown were more geared towards suggested designs perhaps, but that's all the way at the end of the stage, and you can't really determine what's a good or bad design without understanding all the context that came before it, and it doesn't replace the fundamental design thinking that's critical for this role. So instead, I recommend working with AI to help you become more efficient and have more conversations with other people on the business, but it definitely cannot replace design thinking, which is so integral for this role. So if this information makes you feel a little bit better and you're thinking about becoming a UX designer, these are some options for you to learn, stand out, increase your chances of being hired, and anything else you might need to know about before moving forward. And if you like this video so far, don't forget to like and subscribe. With higher competition, do need to stand out more, so enrolling in a formal program or getting into a company and transitioning into UX laterally is something I'd recommend over being self-taught or just doing a simple certificate. So I took a bootcamp back in 2020 to learn all the skills needed for transitioning, and I find that a benefit towards these formal bootcamps is that there's not only a set curriculum, but you can receive more tailored help to create a more unique portfolio. Which is why if you're contemplating on a bootcamp, DesignLab might be a good fit for you. So DesignLab is a platform exclusively focused on online education for digital or UX designers. A great feature of their UX bootcamp called UX Academy is that they invest significantly into top mentors to give you a high quality experience and one-of-a-kind portfolio. Plus, after graduation, they connect you with a career coach to help you prepare materials, do interview prep, and make your application stand out in an average of 6 to 9 months. Plus, I understand this is a major career change. Maybe you don't want to fully commit to the bootcamp, but get a sense of the type of work you'll be doing, which is why they have the UX Academy Foundations course, which is geared towards beginners who have no significant design experience, and allows you to decide whether UX design or DesignLab's format is for you with an initial $500 investment. You'll get to learn foundational UI skills, how to use top design tools like Figma, and you'll be paired with an expert design mentor, just like in the full bootcamp, and receive 8 one-on-one sessions. Using my unique link down in the description or using the code SHARONKIM, you can get $100 off the Foundations course at checkout. What's better yet is that if you like the Foundations course and decide to transition to the full 6 to 9 month bootcamp academy, you'll also get an additional $500 tuition credit, essentially making that Foundations course free. So click the link below or use my code SHARONKIM to get $100 off the Foundations course, and thank you again to DesignLab for sponsoring today's video. So after you choose your path of learning, how can you really stand out in this process? Before getting into recommendations, and I do want to stress that just because you decide to switch to UX design next year does not always mean that you'll be applying for jobs next year. Considering what I mentioned earlier, if on average it takes 6 months to, on the longer end, 2 years to transition anyways, by the time your portfolio is fully done, the recession is going to be completely over, like guaranteed by then. And we'll be back to a healthier economy for UX. And sure, even if it takes 2 years, although it would be a really big investment, just because it takes long doesn't mean it's not worth pursuing. I also think if 2 years are going to pass by anyways, you might as well spend that time trying to transition into something that you'll enjoy more. Nonetheless, don't feel like you're in a rush to transition. Definitely focus on quality rather than how fast you can get things done. But with that said, definitely try to prioritize referrals. I've read that if hiring managers know the applicant knows someone personally at that company, they're most likely going to take advantage of that. JobVite, a talent acquisition system, reported that employer referrals make up only about 7% of potential candidates, but the success percentage of those referred candidates who were hired was 44%. So start doing coffee chats and don't be afraid to cold message people on LinkedIn, because I used to do that all the time. Better yet, if they're in your area, offer to buy them lunch near their workplace to talk. Start building relationships early on, because who knows, one day your network might come in handy and give you a referral. On the side, if you are to do coffee chats, I do recommend try not to be too professional when you're doing these coffee chats. I know when I do chats with people, I'm actually pretty casual when I talk to people. I talk about what coffee I made with my espresso machine that morning, so there's no need to be so professional. And finally, this leads to the most important factor to stand out, which is your determination to become a UX designer. Switching industries and doing this career switch was one of the hardest things I have done in my life, but it's also because I was so committed to doing that switch. It was a reason why I was able to get my first full-time UX design job this past May during the recession. And my advice to you is that if you're not committed to the switch, it's going to be significantly more difficult to secure a job after graduation, and I would recommend for you not to do the transition. Looking back, the reason I was able to have such a smooth transition was because I quite literally obsessed over it. Even back when I first started learning late 2020 and the job market was good, I didn't just do the bare curriculum. Out of my bootcamp, I was the youngest student in my cohort, and compared to everyone else, I had no significant professional work experience in general. But I didn't let my age, my background, my lack of professional work experience stop me from doing what I felt was necessary in order to succeed. Even with the resources I already had at my disposal, I went out of my way to do coffee chats, to buy people lunch, to send cold emails, to work on weekends, work till midnight, paying for extra mentorship, to probably spend 100 extra hours on my capstone project to make sure that it was the absolute best case study I could have made. And at the end of the day, I believe no matter what certificate, bootcamp, tool, or whatever you pay for, you cannot outbuy a lack of effort and determination. So if you're committed to the switch, there's no way, even as a total beginner like I was, that you are not able to get a job. Maybe back then, because there was such a high demand, even the more mediocre portfolios were able to make the cut just because there was so much demand for it. But that's just not the case anymore. But no matter what, if you strive to be the best, you were almost guaranteed to get a job back then, and you'll be guaranteed to get a job now. So I know there was a lot covered in this video, but to summarize with some key points, tech or UX is never going to go away. It'll just evolve and expand. The average time to transition is 6 months to 2 years with a starting salary of around $80,000. Say if you stayed in your current job and was making around $50,000 a year. If you were getting a 5% yearly raise, or on the high end, a 20% raise from switching jobs within that same industry, you're probably going to get a max of 10 to 20% raise staying within your current industry within those 2 years. Take that same period of 2 years, which is on the longer end to transition with a starting salary of $80,000. Within that same time frame, you'd be going from a max of 10 to 20% raise to near 60% increase in pay. Plus, post-recession, just because you decide to learn next year doesn't mean you'll necessarily apply next year. As more time passes, the market will readjust to hiring more UX entry roles, and as a whole, the market is projected to still grow at 16% over the next 10 years. Sure, entry levels are not as abundant as before, but they will always still be there. But from here on out, companies will still hire post-recession. And last but not least, I think if you're going to switch, you should go all in. Even back when the job market was good, everyone got a job. But it was only back then where the mediocre portfolios and people who weren't as serious were able to get a job. But now, if you're committed and hardworking, you will get a job regardless of the market. Plus, AI is here and some jobs will inevitably get automated. Thinking of the next 5 to 10 years, say if you have a job that is high at risk of being replaced by AI, you might as well switch and prepare now for when that does eventually happen in the future. So take all these things into consideration and make that judgment call for yourself. I truly believe that if you're committed to the switch and you're really determined to be a UX designer, you should absolutely do it. But I also do want to hear what you think. Did this video change your mind? Are you thinking of switching? What else are you curious about? Let me know down in the comments so we can start that conversation. Plus, if you're still on the fence and more just want to get a sense of the type of work you'll be doing, there is that intro course. So click my link below to get $100 off DesignLab's Foundations course, or use my code SHARONKIM at checkout. Anyways, don't forget to support this channel by giving it a like and subscribe if you've enjoyed it. So with that said, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and until next time.